So check this out behind me. You got a full row of F-150s right here. Look at this. I'll run over here. You got a full row of Ford Explorers, Ford Expeditions, but on this other side, another full row of F-150s. On the other side, full row of F-150s. Guess what? Over the bushes, you've got more. There's more over there. More storage for F-150s. They're sitting absolutely everywhere. Ford has a truck problem. If you can't see it with your eyes, that's a truck problem right there. So I walk into this Ford dealership, and what's the first thing I see? Well, I see Fords right here, but the very first vehicle parked out here is this Wrangler. It's not a Ford. You got your added package, but no price on it. But what I wanted to point out is, okay, all your brand new Fords over here, and they got tons of them. But this whole front row, it's all used vehicles. And this is what we're seeing across brands that are in trouble right now. What comes to mind is Nissan, your Stellantis dealers, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram. Every time I go to these dealerships, and now we're going to throw Ford into the mix with them. Now, when I'm going to these dealerships, the vehicles that they're pushing forward, that it looks like they're trying to show their customers first, always on the front line, are used vehicles. And why would that be? Well, I mean, look at this lot. All these F-150s sitting everywhere. So with all this inventory sitting here, what has to happen with these Ford trucks, these F-150s, these F-250s, F-350s? Well, when you have this much supply, no longer can you charge these added markups, market adjustments, but you have to actually lower your prices to get customers incentivized to actually buy them. So you have incentives coming from the manufacturer, and then you have dealerships like this one right here that are lowering prices to be able to sell them to their consumers. But what does that mean? That means on a lot of these new vehicles, they're making a lot less money than what they had been 6 months ago, 12 months ago. But where are they still making money? Well, they're still making money on those used vehicles that are sitting out front. Way more margin in used vehicles, because when they trade for them, they're paying consumers almost nothing for them. So there's still a lot of margin left in those used vehicles. So right now, these dealerships would much rather sell some of these used vehicles than they would some of these new trucks. Now, maybe we can make the argument on a dealership like this, they need to get rid of some freaking trucks. So maybe they would rather sell the new ones, even though they make less money on them right now than they will the used ones. But go back to Stellantis, go back to Nissan. From what I've heard from salespeople, from franchise managers, that a lot of these dealerships are becoming glorified used car dealers that, yeah, they also sell Nissans. They also sell Jeep, Dodge, and Ram products that are new, but they would much rather sell these used vehicles, and they're actually going to auctions to buy some of these newer used vehicles because they can actually make money on those cars. And right now, a lot of these F-150s, these dealerships, they're not going to be able to make money on them because they're just absolutely everywhere. Look at this row. Insane. So I was standing on this dealership right here. It's a Mazda dealership about 7 or 8 months ago, and I was getting a video to show what the cheapest car on a lot of these manufacturers was. You know, it's probably about a year ago actually that I did this. And when I was here, this lot right here looked nothing like what you see right here. There was almost no vehicles. You had the front row that had new vehicles, and then you had a little line that was out front in front of the building that had new vehicles. But none of this lot. This lot right here was almost empty. I'm gonna swing you around, and this lot right here had 0 vehicles on it. And we're seeing that even with a brand like Mazda. Mazda's been a hot brand lately, and we've seen that their sales have really done well, and they make a lot of vehicles that people want. But even a brand like this, and you think of Honda, you think of Toyota, their inventory levels at their lots have continued to creep up and up and up. And even, I mean, stuff like this, the CX-5, these things are hot right now. And even these, I mean, they're stacking them this way and blocking in other vehicles. I want to see, this one's got to be one that just came out. So yep, 2025 CX-5 2.5. Price on this is $31,000. And this is probably in a big way why Mazda, their sales have actually done well when a lot of other manufacturers have had a harder time. This one looks like they just got in, and we're going to look at this one, the inline 6. And here we go. So 2025 CX-90 3.3 Turbo S Premium. This one is $56,000. And these are the ones that they've had a little bit harder time, but you can see why. You have your smaller SUVs that are $30,000. this is where the market's moving right now. As inflation creeps up, as everything gets more expensive, that's what consumers want. They want that low 30s for an SUV. They want the low 20s for a car. But when you get to your bigger SUVs, when you get up to that $50,000, $60,000 range, it gets harder for the consumer to be able to buy. And then even if the consumer wants to buy, what we've been hearing is that lending has gotten tighter, and it's getting harder and harder for consumers to actually be able to get approved for these loans. And this is why we're seeing, well, CarMax just put up their earnings, and CarMax is doing really, really well right now. But what we're seeing is that they're inheriting a lot of these consumers with subpar credit. Whereas, okay, Mazda couldn't get them approved for one of these vehicles, but you go on to CarMax and they get approved. So you see a situation where, okay, CarMax can sell some of these newer vehicles, these newer used vehicles. I just saw a RAV4 that was a 2024 with like 20,000 miles. They were selling that more than you could get a brand new one for on a Toyota lot. And it's interesting to see a dynamic like that where, well, why would anyone ever sign up for a used vehicle that's more expensive for once you get brand new for? Well, it's because the consumer can't get approved for that brand new car at that Toyota dealership, so they have to go, if they want one of the newer cars, they have to go to CarMax. But for that, they're paying 23% interest if they have subpar credit to go through CarMax. And that's how that situation happens. Here's one thing that's been a problem, not only for Ford, but for Chevy, GM, and for Jeep. Think like the Wagoneer, the Grand Wagoneer, is that a lot of these big body vehicles that have third row seats, it used to actually be affordable for a family who was trying to buy one to get those extra seats. But now your big family that wants to buy one of these things, I mean, you're paying $72,000, and that's the low end because it's only an XLT. And there's not a lot of these XLTs actually sitting out here. Most of them are like Platinums, Lariats, things like that. Actually, I don't think Lariat, but Platinum. And you're paying way more for a vehicle like that. And this is a big problem that we're seeing across the whole car market. Not just Ford. I'm not going to even just pick on Ford for this, because you think about Jeep, they're probably the worst offender, and they have the Wagoneers and Grand Wagoneers. And your starting price points on a lot of those vehicles are $80,000, $90,000, $100,000. And if you have a big family, well, you're not really getting an SUV anymore. And it used to be you could buy one of these Expeditions. You could buy a Suburban. You could buy like a Tahoe, and not pay crazy amounts of money. But now for a vehicle that's that size, I mean, you're getting $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 across all of these brands. And it's hurt a lot of families because they're either going to have to go to used, and these manufacturers are going to lose those customers, or they're having to trade down in the marketplace, meaning buy a van. And if they're buying a van, well, they're not going to the big three. Where are they going? They're going to Honda or Toyota to buy like an Odyssey or a Toyota Sienna to be able to have the amount of seating. They're not buying the big SUV. They're going to a van. They're going to something used. And here's something that's very surprising to me. You have, okay, all these Mavericks sitting right here. One, these are both Rangers. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 more Rangers. So you have 5 Mavericks sitting on this lot. And I'm honestly surprised to even see those sitting here, because it's not been something that you've been able to find at a lot of these dealerships. We have seen a lot more of them pop up because people were screaming for this lower level truck, this cheaper truck. Debate whether it's a truck or not. It's got a bed, it does some truck things, right? You can call it a truck. But you haven't been able to find these things really. And what are these dealerships not overloaded with? Well, they're not overloaded with this Mavericks, which people were screaming for about 12 months ago. And why is that really? Well, Ford, one, is not going to make anywhere close to as much money on this Maverick right here as they are on these Super Duty trucks, as they are on the F-150s that are way stacked up over there. And on top of that, your dealer bodies are not going to make anywhere close to as much on these Ford Mavericks as they would on the F-150s, on the F-250s. Now, there could be an argument to say that these dealerships now would rather have a lot more of these Mavericks than they would these F-150s right now, because the F-150s are actually costing these dealerships money. Even when they're selling them, they're keeping them for a year, year and a half. Day supply of a lot of these F-150s is going up and up and up and up. And these dealerships, they don't own these vehicles outright. They pay interest. They're on their floor plans. So they have to pay money each and every month to actually keep these vehicles sitting on their lots. And when they have vehicles that they maybe not make as much money on, but they roll them a lot quicker, well, in this environment right now, a dealership would much rather have a lot be overloaded with these Mavericks because they're able to turn and burn these things, even though they're not making as much money than these F-150s, because these F-150s right now are costing them a lot of money. You've got all these vehicles parked right here. You've got all these vehicles parked right here. Then they have another row that's right in the middle of where you're supposed to freaking drive. So when they get more allocations in, where are they going to put them? I mean, look around me right here. There's nowhere to put these cars. And they keep taking allocations. They're not going to be able to sell through all these cars. So you're seeing 2023 sitting on here, you're seeing 2024 sitting on the slot, and now you're seeing 2025s come into the system. These dealerships are absolutely screwed right now, and Ford keeps pumping these vehicles down their throat. And here's the thing, I'm going through, I'm looking at this dealership, and I mean, I'm giving them a hard time, right? It's not really a dealership problem. Now, I don't like the add-ons, I don't like that they had market adjustments 12 months ago, but right now, this is not caused by this dealership. Them having to stack trucks too wide in the middle of your lanes to actually drive in. Nah, this is a Ford problem. This is either product, this is either pricing, or this is either an economy problem. And I think what we have is we have all three. So the only way for a dealership like this to move metal is for Ford to add tons and tons of incentives, to add tons and tons of things like special interest rates, money on the hood. This is what these dealerships need right now, and this is why you're having a lot of dealerships scream to Ford that, okay, we need some help. You gave us all these trucks, that's great, but all right, how are you going to help us sell them now? And Ford's like, I don't know. We got more trucks coming out. Is that going to help? You know what? You can take them, and then afterwards we'll recall them. So you know what? Maybe we can just do a pre-recall. So all these trucks we can just go ahead and send into the shop, and then it's like you sold them, and then we just send you more trucks. That'll work. That'll be good. That's a good idea. So on the used car side of things, what does this look like? After all, I am a used car dealer, and that's what I know the best, right? I'm a car dealer that sells cars that are $5,000 and under. Well, what this looks like is, well, right now I have more vehicles at this time of the year that I have ever had before, and we have the busiest time of the year that's rolling up on us in just a couple months. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about tax time. And I try to buy as many cars as I can. And usually I fail in hitting my goals that I want to have. And this year I wanted by the end of February, which is right now about 2.5 months away from us. So actually about 3 months away from us. I wanted to have about 150 cars. And it's difficult for us to do that, especially in this market, because there's a limited amount of quality vehicles that we've been able to buy for the right kind of prices that I can sell for $5,000 and under. And we've really been on a buying spree in the last 2.5 weeks because we've seen prices plummet at auction. And it's been very good for us, but it's been very telling for the market. And right now I've got like 135 cars. I never expected to have that many cars at this time of the year, and I know that this year we'll be able to smash through my goal of having 150 cars because the market has turned down so quickly, especially for used car dealers. So the reason why I want to bring that up is I want to just talk to you about what that looks like right now for a race to the bottom for used car dealers, is that all these used car dealers are so pinched right now that they have situations where they have to pay their floor plans off. And what do I mean by that? Well, when you have all these used cars sitting on a used car dealer lot, they don't own their cars, they finance their cars, they owe money on all their cars. And a lot of these used car dealers, they live paycheck to paycheck. And when I mean paycheck to paycheck is that whenever they sell a car, they can go buy another one. So they can't really start to feed themselves in that kind of speak as far as replacing their inventory so they can make money. Until they get rid of the inventory they have, because they've already loaded up at this point. They've already tapped a lot of their credit lines, and they can't go above and beyond that. So they have to sell cars to be able to go back to auction to reload. And what we're seeing right now, and what I'm seeing right now, is why I can load up for good prices is because these other dealers right now can't. And what's that telling me about the market? It's telling me that a lot of these used car dealers are hurting right now. And as the months progress and as sales don't materialize and don't come through, prices on the wholesale level are going to continue to go down. And then all of a sudden, you're going to have all of these car dealers that have to liquidate all at the same time because their interest payments come due all at the same time. They all owe the same amount of money on all of these cars, and they don't have the money to pay for these vehicles. So that means that they have to get rid of them, and there's only a few ways that dealers can get rid of cars. Well, they can dump them to auction, turn some quick money real quick, and some of them will do that, but they're not going to get hardly any, not even close to the amount of money they have in these cars. But the other option is they can lower the prices on their lot. And all these dealers that are in the same boat, they're all going to come to the same realization all at the same time. And that's when you start seeing that race to the bottom on the used car side of things. Whereas your manufacturers, they come out and make big announcements. But on the used car side of things, it doesn't look like that. It looks like panic at these used car dealerships, where you go up to a used car dealership and it feels like that predatory kind of thing that it used to be. Now, I mean, in the last 2-3 years, you walk up onto a used car dealership lot, you don't even get greeted. They're like, you want the car or not? It doesn't matter. Next person in here, they're going to buy it if you don't buy it. So that's why we're not coming off the price. But now we're getting to a time you walk up onto a used car dealer lot, you're going to get hugged. I mean, because they haven't seen a customer in a long time, and they want your money and they need your money right now. So that's what a race to the bottom looks like in the used car side of things. And that's what I think we're going to see over this next year. And it's going to be good for a dealership like me, because we thrive when things get bad in the economy and things get bad in the market, especially for other dealers, is because we serve the customer base that has cash, and we play the volume game. We've always played the volume game. So this is something I'm going to be able to show you over the next year, show you what we're buying, what we're selling, how much we're selling stuff for, prices that we're getting at auction. That's the kind of thing that I'm going to show you on this channel. And we're going to keep you informed of that as things are going. And if we are going through a race to the bottom, it's going to get very, very interesting over the next year.